So announcement. I gave points back for quiz questions on drinking wine and teratogens because those are the questions that I was supposed to cover in class for the weekend. So go back and check if for some reason I didn't give you the points back. Let me know. Send me an email, and I'll send it. I will change the grade. I also noticed a lot of people actually got that wrong, drinking wine. So a lot of people thought drinking a little bit of wine during pregnancy it's okay. I'm glad that we had that class, which helped a lot of future babies. Review sheet for exam 1 is posted. Have you guys seen it? Okay, if you haven't, go ahead and check it out. Your exam 1 will cover chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Here we have the Academic Success Center. They offer on-campus tutoring. How many of you know this? Yes? Okay, so they are very helpful. You can get a full schedule of tutoring and classes from this website. You can go back and download the PowerPoint and go to the link here. If you're struggling or if you have any questions, it can be like a quick question, you can ask them. They can be very helpful. Your assignment 1 is posted. You will need to work individually. No plagiarism, so don't copy and paste from stuff online, because when you turn it in on the Turnitin assignment, they will check plagiarism. You need to use Microsoft Word documents. That's the only format Turnitin assignment can read. So make sure you do that. If you don't have that on your computer, you can work at a school library or borrow someone's computer who has the Word document. This is due Wednesday, February the 17th. You have a little bit more than 2 weeks, or exactly 2 weeks, to complete this, so you have plenty of time. Don't wait until the last minute. There's no makeup, no late turning in, so make sure you start early. You will find more details on eCampus under the Assignments tab. It's assignment 1. Let us know, Emily and me, know if you have any questions. Okay. So for today, we are going to talk about cognitive development to finish something that we haven't finished last class. And then we're going to talk about temperament and attachment. We have a lot to cover today, so I'll try to go fast. If you need me to stop, just raise your hand or just say, hey, can you pause for a minute to ask questions? By the way, you guys can hear, right? Back there? Okay, just want to make sure. So when they grow to 18 to 24 months, so about 2 years old, they start to learn the concept of object permanence. This is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they cannot be perceived, either seen, heard, touched, smelled, or sensed in any way. I'm going to show you a video to demonstrate this.
New babies aren't quite sure what happens to objects when they leave their sight. Sky's mom keeps disappearing and reappearing. No wonder peekaboo is so much fun. During their first year, however, infants will learn an important concept: object permanence. Everything has a life of its own, even if it is out of sight.
At Maya's age, babies know to look for the object, but they might not have everything else straight. 10-month-old Simon is about to make a classic mistake, known as the A not B error. Although he watched us place the toy plane under the white cloth, he'll look for it where he last found it, not where he watched us hide it. If a one-year-old can't find an object they want right away, they're likely to give up looking.
Okay, so this basically means that if something is hidden from them, they are not very likely to look for them because they don't know they still exist in that place. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Next, when kids grow to 4 to 5 years old, they start to develop the theory of mind. So this is the ability to realize that other people have minds, and those minds represent the world in different ways. Some babies might develop as early as 15 months, but they're outliers. So we are using the 4 to 5 years old standards for most people. Okay. They use the false belief test to test whether a child has developed the theory of mind yet. If they haven't, we will call that egocentrism, is when they view the world only from their own perspectives. If they pass the test, we'll say, okay, this child has developed the theory of mind. And this explains why some kids, when they're younger, we think they're very selfish. It's because they cannot think from other people's perspective. Questions? Good. Okay, now I'm going to show you a clip that shows how this test works.
I'm gonna have a tea party with Play-Doh. I wanna serve myself. Here, Sarah. No!
Well, you've probably discovered that however smart your 3-year-old is, she doesn't seem able to put herself in someone else's mental shoes, to imagine how they think and what they believe. Perhaps you thought your parenting skills were to blame. But scientists suggest that understanding other minds is a skill that may not be fully developed until a child is about 4. To learn how children's social skills evolve between about 3 and 4, researchers use something called a false belief test. What do you think's in this box? Looks fairly obvious, doesn't it? Crayons. But let me show you. I filled it full of candles. All right, now I close it up again. While you and I have been having this conversation, Snoopy has been down here, asleep. Doesn't know what we've talked about. But let's bring him into the conversation. Now I have another question for you. What do you think Snoopy will say if I ask him what's in this box? Crayons, obviously. What else could anybody possibly say? Well, watch this 3-year-old.
What do you think is inside this box? Okay, let's open it up and see.
Candles.
Now, you can ask the child what appears to be a very simple question about that. What did you think was inside the box when you first saw it? They say, oh, I always thought that there were candles in this box. Then you can ask them about someone else. So you can ask them about Snoopy. Snoopy's been sitting here. He hasn't seen this box. He's never seen us open it up.
What does Snoopy think is inside this box?
Candles.
Children say the same thing. Snoopy will think there are candles inside this box. And what that indicates is that the children's view of how minds work is very, very different from the view that you and I would have.
Yes. Did you see it?
In the mind of the 3-year-old, everyone sees the world much the same way. There's no difference between what I think and believe and what everyone else, including Snoopy, thinks and believes. It is, in a sense, a naive and innocent view of the world, a kind of mental Eden. And then, about 4, comes the fall from grace.
Now, if you take a 4-year-old, quite typically the 4-year-old will tell you that, as a matter of fact, he thought there were crayons in the box, and then he found out that there were candles in the box. You can ask him about Snoopy, and he'll say, oh no, Snoopy will think that there are crayons in this box.
Great. Why will he think that?
Because it's a crayon box.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that's going to make him think they're crayons. What's really in the box?
Candles.
Right.
And then you get the 5-year-olds who are just utterly blasé and think that this is such an obvious thing, it's silly even to ask the question. What that shows is that by the time children are 4 and 5, they have a view of the mind that looks much more like our view of the mind. They understand that things can be tricky and deceptive, that you can change your mind, that things aren't always the way that they seem. And that gives them a very different vision of how the mind works and how people work.
Remember, we're sharing this. Oh, I need that. Okay, then it's my turn.
Children who pass the false belief test now understand that other people can have different beliefs, even mistaken beliefs. Some scientists suggest that this test is further evidence of innate brain circuits specialized for reading other people's minds. They call it a theory of mind mechanism.
Did you notice the researcher, when she talked to the interviewer, it's like normal voice, and when she talked to the baby, it's like super high pitch baby talk. So you see that very often. But sometimes we don't even notice those details. Okay, any questions on the theory of mind and how we test it? Did you guys all pass it? Okay, if you don't pass the test, seek professional help. It's very serious, I'm saying. All right. Cognitive development, when they grow up to about 6 to 8 years old, they start to develop this conservation, which is the ability to recognize that when some properties, such as shape of an object change, the other properties, such as volume, they remain constant. And this is called conservation. So some examples include volume, mass, number. Okay. Before that, kids can only focus one aspect at a time. Right. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a video demonstrating how conservation works. Oops.
Can you look at these two glasses? Do you think that they have the same amount of juice? You think they have the same? Okay. Now we're going to pour this juice into this glass. Now, do you think that this glass has more juice, this glass has more juice, or do you think that they have the same amount?
That one has more.
This one has more, and why do you think that this one has more?
Because it's taller.
Okay, which kind of conservation that was? Again, to say volume. That's pretty good.
So first we're going to look at these two cups right here. Do you think there's the same amount of juice in this glass as there is in that glass?
They're even.
They're even? Okay. So we're going to take the juice from this glass and pour it into this one right here.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to look at this glass and that one. So do you think that there's more juice in this glass, more juice in this glass, or do you think that they have the same amount?
Same amount.
Okay, why do you think that they have the same amount?
Just because this is skinny doesn't mean it's not the same amount. It has the same amount of juice in it, but this one is just wider and this one's skinnier, but they have the same amount of juice in it.
Okay, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or do they have the same?
1, 2, 3. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all the same.
They're the same?
5, 5.
Okay. Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more, or do they have the same?
This one has more.
That one has more quarters?
Yeah.
Why does this row have more quarters?
Because it's more far away.
It's more far away?
Yeah, it's more far away than that. Looks bigger.
Okay, which type of conservation was that? Should be easy. Pretty good.
All right, we're going to play a game with the graham crackers, and we're going to share them between me and you, okay? Okay. Do you think that we shared those fairly?
No.
No, why not?
You have those and I have this one.
Well, what if we try this? Okay, can I put this down right there?
Okay.
Now is it fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is it fair now?
Because we both have two.
All right. So, applications. After learning this, what can you learn from this and you can use it in your life?
Shortchange babies.
Can what?
Shortchange babies by showing them they have a wider amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can't use it? Yeah, you can use it. It's very useful. Well, first of all, we know that kids before, like, let's say 4 or 5 years old, they're pretty dumb, right? And because of that, you can save a lot of money. You can give them like a skinny bottle, or you can give them like half of the cookie, but they will be just as happy. But don't do this when they develop the conservation. They'll think you're a liar. But before that, yeah, you can use the trick. And sometimes we know kids, they want to only drink Coke or only eat cookies. Then you can trick them to eat less amounts and then eat real food and drink water, right? Okay. Next, when they get to 6 to 11 years old, they can start to reason about real and concrete objects. And they can perform simple logic, such as math, and very simple problem solving. However, they will have difficulties with abstract concepts, such as freedom, culture, or fictions. That's why we need to be very careful when kids are younger. They might not know what's fictional and what's real. So when they play video games or when they watch cartoons, if there's some like dangerous movement in what they're watching, they might learn from it because they can't distinguish reality and fictions. Also, when kids are around that age, they might not be very good at math, simply because they haven't developed that cognitive skills yet. It's not always that we just think, oh, this kid is dumb. It's just because they haven't developed that skill yet, okay? And then when they get to 12 years old or older, they can start to think logically about abstract ideas. They can imagine possibilities beyond the present time, so think about the future. And they can think hypothetically and foresee consequences. Okay. So here is an example. So during the pandemic, if a kid is 12 years old or older, they would know the consequences of their behavior. So when your friends ask you to go out, they will know to say no, hopefully. But when they invite you to my class, they will say yes. That was a joke. You didn't get it. But to be serious, is that the pandemic is really bad. So be careful if you have roommates or something. It's serious. I think. Did I tell you that last semester I have a couple students got tested positive? No? Okay, yeah. Because they think they're being careful. They went home and they just like, I just can't stress this enough. Is just be careful. Okay, any questions before we go to the next topic? No? All right. So now we are going to talk about temperament and attachments. Now let's do a class activity. Now I want you to think and try to remember when you were very, very young. And then I want you to tell me what you were like as a baby in terms of your temperaments, how your parents described you when you were younger. Do you want to talk to your neighbor first and then? Huh?
Were we just supposed to just say it?
Yeah.
Curious?
Curious?
Yeah.
So you would say when you're younger, your parents describe you as a curious baby. Okay. All right. What else?
I always had a bunch of questions.
Well, who's speaking? I can't tell because oh, okay.
I was always asking a lot of questions.
Okay. All right. So also very curious. Okay. All right. Oh, trying to remember names. Cameron. Robert. Okay. Claire?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I was like a lot quieter than
Quiet.
and less like, my younger sister was very like, she climbed everywhere, she cried a lot, and she was just kind of chaotic, and I was just really chill, I guess.
Okay, so you're the quiet baby compared to your siblings.
Yes.
Okay. And how would you describe them? They're loud?
Yes, loud
Okay.
and chaotic. I guess.
Okay, all right. What's your name?
Jacob.
Jacob? Okay.
I just feel like I cried a lot.
Cry a lot?
Yeah.
Okay. Your parents told you that, or you remember
Yeah,
that?
my mom said I was horrible. Yeah, like my brother was like the golden child apparently. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So we have different types. Yeah.
I was kind of the same way. I was like
Sorry.
a train wreck with emotional attachment. Like whenever my mom would like leave the car when I was younger, she just like shut the door, crying instantly.
Okay.
So I don't really know how to explain it other than just
Okay.
suffer with like attachment and whatnot.
Cool, cool, cool. So wait, how old were you when you?
I mean, this went all the way from probably 2 to 6 years old.
Oh, okay. So that will be more about attachments. What about when you were a baby, like very young? How would your parents describe you?
Relatively calm for the most part.
Calm?
Although I was easily spooked by a lot of things. You know,
Okay.
I could like move quick, or you could like drop something, like boom, crying again.
Okay. All right. Your name?
Walter.
Walter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're Nicholas?
Yes.
Okay.
My mom said that I was very mischievous. Like she would always put me in my crib, and then like she'd walk away. All of a sudden she'd just hear fun, and then I'd be running.
Okay, so you move a lot. Okay, very good. So we have very different temperaments, babies, right? Okay, so temperaments. Those are the characteristics and aspects of personality that we are born with. So this is different from attachment or even personality. We can only call this temperament. They're biological based, which means they influence mainly by nature and prenatal environments. And they are the tendency to behave in certain ways. I'm going to check online students, see if they have some interesting comments. Super energetic, observant, very quiet, easy baby, calm, take off shoes, happy baby, friendly and smiley. Friendly baby, okay. All right. Cool, so we have three main types of temperament. First, we have the easy baby. They are more likely to have a happy mood. They have predictable schedules. They like novelty, so they're curious. And they're easily soothed. So if they get scared, they easily get comfort from their caregivers. Second, we have the difficult babies. They tend to have bad mood. They have unpredictable schedules. They wake up in random times. They dislike changes and novelty, and they're loud. So usually parents would describe them as difficult babies. Lastly, we have the slow to warm up babies. They're less grumpy. They're quieter. And they have more regular schedules compared to difficult babies. But they are slow to adapt to new environments. Okay. All right, so you know the differences between the three main type temperaments, right? So how would you describe you as a baby? How many of you think you're a happy baby? Okay, about half. How many of you think you were a difficult baby? Okay, a lot less. How many of you think you are a slow to warm up baby? Okay, about the same as difficult babies. How many of you think that you were mixed, more than one category? 2, okay. It's kind of hard to know whether you were this one because when your parents describe you, they're more likely to say the most salient features, right? And then they kind of categorize you to that most salient category. Okay. All right. Emily, can you monitor the online students' response? Okay.
Like a lot of B's and A's.
Okay. Cool, cool. All right. So, temperament, they extend through childhood to adults, but nurture might have some influences. That's when we call the temperament is changed to attachment or personalities. So your temperament as a baby could be different from your attachment style or your personalities. They also could be the same. So the research in the US shows that we have about 40% of easy babies, which is aligning to our sample here, right? We had about half, and then about 10% difficult babies, 15% of slow to warm up. We're pretty close as a class. And then we have about 35%, they are in more than one category. So that's based on research. Okay. So attachment, this is a deep, affectionate, close, and enduring emotional bond and relationship with a primary caregiver. Kids usually develop attachment with their mom first, which is between 3 to 7 months, and then dad. Do I need to explain why, or it's pretty easy to comprehend because they spend more time with moms? Okay. We also have imprinting. That's only for animals. This is when animals, they have rapid and innate learning of the characteristics of a caregiver very soon after birth. I'm going to show you a video to demonstrate that. Okay. Alright, so you get the idea, right? When animals, they were born when they're very little, and when they see something, first sight, they will think that they're caregivers. Okay. So now I will let you watch an experiment video. It's called Harlow's Monkey. During the video, I want you to pay attention to these two questions. First is, do baby monkeys prefer being fed or comfort and love? Second is, why is attachment important? I want you to think about these two questions. Before that, I'm going to check comments. All right.
This monkey is an orphan, separated from his mother since the day of his birth. Literally, his life hangs by a thread, a soft cheesecloth pad that is his only companion, his only comfort. Once a day, the pad is removed for cleaning.
This is the laboratory of psychologist Harry Harlow.
Troubled, distressed, permanently deprived.
He is studying monkeys to better understand human relationships.
He may die for want of love.
Harlow believes he can use science to study love. With a series of pioneering experiments, he explores territory where few scientists have ventured.
Harlow said that there was such a thing as a science of love, for example, that love, the kind of intimacy that characterized relationships between mothers and infants, although in his case he studied monkeys, could be the object of science, that you literally could move love into a laboratory, put it under a microscope.
Harlow is studying love because he believes it makes an indelible impact on a young life. The relationship between a mother and her child, what Harlow calls our earliest social environment, could hold the key to explaining behavior throughout life. Harlow designs a set of ingenious experiments. He raises a baby monkey, allowing it to choose between two surrogate mothers, a wire mother that feeds it, and a cloth mother that doesn't. A cloth mother that Harlow thinks might provide something else: comfort and love.
Here's baby 106, weaned on a wire mother. He's going to the wire mother.
But this infant quickly runs to the cloth mother, where he will stay for the next 18 hours cuddling. In Harlow's mind, choosing nurturing over sustenance. In another experiment, Harlow creates a fearful situation. Whom does the infant turn to now?
Let's find out what his reactions to his mother are when we frighten him. He's scared, all right. And he does what any child will do in a similar situation. He was running to his mother, to touch her, to drive away his fear.
To Harlow, there is something about the experience of comfort and love, even more than food, that seems crucial to all these monkeys. But what happens when the infant is raised alone, without any mother at all, wire or cloth? In this situation, the orphan monkey stays alone. He won't even go to the cloth mother when frightened, but retreats into his own world. Harlow believes he has shown how want of love can damage an infant for life, and he worries the same is true for people.
What comes through loud and clear in Harry Harlow's experiment was that early experience and the environment were crucial to the healthy development of the infant child. And that in a sense, if you messed up, if the right kind of maternal presence was not there during the critical years, then that infant might grow up to be an adult incapable of forming healthy relationships with other kinds of people.
All right. Thoughts? No thoughts? You guys got a lot quieter this week. What happened? What?
I think school just got to us. We're all tired now.
It's only the third week. Then you have, if you're a freshman, you have 4 more years. Come on. All right, no thoughts? Well, I think the experiment was very cruel. I don't know. At the time, they might not have that standard, so they did it. Nowadays, we would think, oh, that was wrong. But sometimes, in the past, when you're in that environment, you don't know what's right or wrong until you learn it. Yeah.
Do they actually still do like psychological research on animals, or is there like a big code of ethics around that?
Yes, so we try to be ethical, but I'm sure 100% some researchers will do some crazy experiments around the world. But yeah. Right. We learn something important from this experiment, but hopefully when we treat the subjects, no matter they're human or animals, can be more ethical than that. All right, let me see if online students have any comments. It's a pretty popular study. Okay, all right. So do baby monkeys prefer being fed or comfort and love? Comfort and love? Does anyone think it's being fed because they ran to the wire monkey first? They got the food first. Why not? Yes, Ethan?
I mean, maybe in like the short term if they're hungry, because like that was the immediate thing that they went to, but I think in the long term they prefer comfort and love.
Okay, short term versus long term?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that because they stayed with the cloth mother longer.
Uh-huh.
Maybe yes, they went to the food, but then they stayed with her even if they were hungry. I think that proved that they wanted comfort and love.
So, period of time that they spend with different monkeys. What's your name?
Maya.
Maya? Okay, all right. Okay, so yes, well, even though when they ran to the wire monkey first, it's because they had that necessity. I would say that's a need, but not that they prefer. It's not a preference. Okay. Okay. Why is attachment important? What do you guys think? Someone else? Andrea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because like when the monkey didn't have any mother and they put him in like that scary situation, he didn't even go to the thing that could have given him comfort, even though it was there, and so like, they don't know love. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you think that's bad?
Yeah.
Okay. So this kind of applies to human too, right? When you're in a difficult situation, it's better for you to have social support than being alone. That's why a lot of mental disorder developed, because they don't seek help. They don't have mental support. They don't have social support. And a lot of tragedies happen because of this. Yeah, it's so important to have a secure parents. Hopefully, parents, both dads and mom, or both sides. We'll talk about that later. I know now we have the controversies, like does it have to be a dad and a mom, or can it be like 2 dads, 2 moms? We'll talk about that later, but just for short, scientifically evidence support that a nuclear family is better for the kids than any other types of family. The nuclear family is a mom, a dad, and kids. I know it could be controversy, but just what the research shows. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. be good parents in the future if you decide to have kids. Give them love, give them care. So, yeah. Okay, attachments. We have about 10 minutes. So I'm going to show you a study. It's called the Strange Situation Study. This is conducted by Mary Ainsworth back in 1969. So they used this study to determine kids' attachment styles from their responses to strangers, separation, and reunion with their mother. So what Walter, what he just mentioned, he will cry when he leaves his mother, right? That's a strange situation environment, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. During this video, take notes. So how many stages are there in the study? Pay attention to each stage, and pay attention to what kind of behaviors were being observed and measured. How many attachments were discussed, and what is the caregiver's sensitivity hypothesis? So pay attention to those.
In 1969, American psychologist Mary Ainsworth gave developmental psychology a new procedure for studying attachment in infants. She called it the Strange Situation Classification, and it's widely referred to as simply the strange situation. As an adult, you know when you've formed an attachment with someone, you know how it feels, and you know how to express your feelings in words. However, when it comes to babies and young children, they haven't yet developed these skills, and therefore researchers must turn to more subtle techniques, such as the strange situation, which measures the security of an attachment in 1 to 2-year-olds. A 20-minute participatory observation, during which the researcher observes the infant's behavioral responses to a series of scenarios. Ainsworth's strange situation includes 8 stages, each lasting roughly 3 minutes. To start with, the mother, baby, and researcher are all together in the room, a small, neutrally coloured space with some toys for the baby to play with. The experimenter leaves after around a minute, and the mother and baby are alone for approximately 3 minutes. In this stage, researchers are watching to see whether the child is confident to explore the new environment, or whether she stays close to the mother. A stranger joins the mother and baby in the room. The researchers record the baby's response to this unfamiliar newcomer, who is left alone with the baby when the mother leaves the room. At this stage, the researchers are observing the baby's behavior for signs of separation anxiety. 3 minutes later, the mother returns, and the researchers observe for the baby's reunion response. The stranger leaves the room. A few minutes more, and the mother leaves the room too, leaving the baby alone for the first time in the experiment. The next person to enter the room is the stranger, and finally, after 3 minutes, the mother returns and the stranger leaves. All in all, a perfectly strange situation for all involved. So, what were the researchers measuring? When the mother was in the room with the baby, they scored the infant's behavior on 4 measures: proximity and contact seeking, contact maintaining, avoidance of proximity and contact, and resistance to contact and comforting. The baby's exploratory behaviors were also recorded as she explored the environment. Ainsworth reported that infants display one of 3 attachment types. Securely attached infants showed distress when separated from their mother, were avoidant of the stranger when alone, but friendly in the presence of their mother, and were happy when the mother returned from outside the room. 70% of children studied fell into this category. 15% of children demonstrated an ambivalent attachment with their mother. These children showed intense distress when the mother left the room and demonstrated a significant fear of the stranger. When the mother returned to the room, ambivalent children approached the mother but rejected contact. Ainsworth reported that a final 15% had an avoidant attachment style. Such infants show no interest when the mother leaves the room and play happily with the stranger. When the mother returns, avoidant children barely seem to notice. In 1990, Main and Solomon added that a very small percentage were inconsistent in their behaviours and defined this attachment style as disorganised. Ainsworth's caregiver sensitivity hypothesis suggests that differences in infants' attachment styles are dependent on the mother's behaviour towards the baby during a critical period of development.
All right. So we don't have much time to discuss the questions I asked, but make sure you know the answers. They're all in the video. Okay, so secure attachment. Infants and child, they have a high quality, dependable relationship with their attachment figure, usually mom first. They are distressed when they're separated with their mothers. They avoid the strangers unless the mom was there with them as well. And they're happy to see their mom after the separation. So that's the secure attachment babies. So we have about 65% of American children are like that. So use the stats that I give you here instead of video. This one is more updated. Okay. And next we have the avoidant attachment. So they don't care when they're separated with their mother. They can easily play with strangers, and they ignore or avoid the caregiver when they return after the separation. This may occur as a result of unresponsive caregiver. So when the parents neglect the kids' needs, when they cry for help or when they cry for something, the parents don't give any responses. That could be the cause for avoidant attachment. And we have about 15% of the kids have avoidant attachments. And then we have the resistant or ambivalent attachment. So the kids with this type of attachment, they get really upset and angry when they're separated with their mothers. They have significant fear of strangers. And they get mad at mom when she returns after the separation. So they get angry and they let the caregiver know that they're angry. And this could be a result of inconsistent caregiver availability. So sometimes they respond to the kids' cries, their needs, sometimes they don't. So inconsistent. And we have about 15% of the kids who has resistant and ambivalent attachment. Lastly, we have the disorganized attachment. So their behavior is inconsistent. Sometimes it can be disoriented or disturbing. So they may sit with back to therapists or stare into space when approached. And they don't have a consistent way of coping with difficult situations or strange situations. This could be results of abusive homes where child has not developed strategies for getting needs met. So they don't know what to do. We have less than 4% of kids who has disorganized attachment. And lastly, let's do a practice question real quick. If you don't have time, you can go. It's 25. So Ian is 12 months old. He is crying for attention, but his mom is busy cooking dinner and can't pay much attention to him. But when she finally finishes cooking, she picks him up and offers him his favorite toy. But Ian pushes it away and keeps crying. What kind of attachment does Ian have? Hey, resistant? Very good. Okay, that's it. If you don't have any questions, I will see you on Friday.
question.
Yes.
I'm just curious, like, if you have like a very like a baby who cries a lot, like some people debate whether you should always go to them and like nurture them, or if you should like leave them alone and let them cry.
What do you think?
I think that like it's so hard because it's like I think my tendency would be to nurture them, but some people think that you would be spoiling them or like teaching them bad habits.
Yeah.
And
So,
I don't know. I guess it depends on the situation.
Exactly. Depends on the situation. So you will need to know what they are looking for. So if they're uncomfortable, if they are hungry, they really need something, yes, make sure their needs are met. But if they are just crying for no reason, for attention, maybe just let them calm themselves. However, it's kind of hard to do. It takes experience as a parent. Yeah, and in my opinion, it's safer to try to meet their needs than guessing. Okay, is the baby just wants attention, and then maybe so I think it's safer to always meet their needs when they cry.
Sense. Yeah, because like I guess you just have to know your kid too.
Yeah.
Because I've had parents that I babysat for. They're like, just let them cry a little bit. They'll calm down.
Yeah. Especially if you're not the parent, it could be harder because you don't know their temperament and their attachments. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. No problem.
Hello.
Hi.
Anything down?
No, I think we are all set.
Okay.
So, yeah.